This is the Tabernacle Podcast with a special guest from the East Coast, Virginia, Kelly Findley, and me, John Vermiglia. How's it going, Kelly?
It's going great, man. Always good to be with one of the best dudes in the world, Johnny V.
One of the few people that still call me Johnny V. I love it. No, actually, they call me Johnny V like when I speak at youth camps and stuff. Yeah. Because no one can be ticked at you if they have to go Johnny V because you're already in a half smile, right? So I can say hard things, whatever.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and it just sounds cool, man. It sounds like you should own like a restaurant or something, or like a bar, Johnny V.
Oh, 100%. There was a Johnny V's barbecue that I saw a billboard for here in Michigan, and I stopped, and because I had to, right? And I was hoping to get a shirt. Instead, I got a barbecue sandwich. And like a month later, the whole place burned down. So unfortunately, Johnny V's restaurant is out of business. But let me give a little intro to who is Kelly Findley. Kelly Findley is an American soccer coach. He played at Judson University, tore up at Judson University in the suburbs of Chicago, where he was a three-time All-American. He was the NCCAA Player of the Year. He also is in their Hall of Fame. He played 6 seasons with the Charlotte Eagles in the USL, 6 seasons. Nice. He's currently the head coach at Liberty University, but you've coached everywhere. He also has a Wikipedia page, so we're not messing around today, right? I just found this out. So he's coached at Liberty, head coach at NC State, Butler University, Mars Hill, and then also been an assistant at a slew. There's 8 different universities you've been associated with. Did you know that?
I did, and my wife's not super happy about that yet. We're still married, so that's good.
He is married to a force of nature, Joanne Findley. You guys have four children. 5 children. Oh, I forgot about the 5th. Don't tell her because I just met her in Charlotte just a few months ago, and she looks just like your wife. But Kelly and I had the privilege of being his teammate with the Charlotte Eagles in my pro soccer days. Kelly, let's just get it out of the way right now. Better player than me, and I looked up to him, not because of his stature necessarily, but his stature as a man, as a player. I probably never told you this, bro, but you were a huge impact on my life. I think I learned how to be a professional from you because both of us fighting to get in the lineup, and it was always about preparation and attitude. And on more than one occasion, just by your mere presence and the way, just during warm-ups, I'm moaning because I was the man everywhere, and at the pros, I'm not the man. I'm one of many men. Just by your example, like it corrected my little attitude, and it's like, well, if Kelly can do it and he was stinking player of the year, I better focus here just a little bit. So thank you for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that.
So if you could tell us just a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are and what God is doing in your life right now and where you see your impact is going to be, I think that would help us, because I think this podcast will be more than just, like, we're not talking about soccer. So if you're listening right now and you think, oh, here's one of John's soccer friends, I don't want to listen. You want to stay dialed in, because coaching is like being a pastor, in my opinion, because you are caring for and serving and trying to get the best out a group of players. And Kelly's one of the best. And he's also a man of deep, deep faith. Christ is first in his life. And that is integrated into his coaching. So before we jump into all of that, Kelly, just tell us a little bit about your upbringing, how soccer impacted your life, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, just like a lot of athletes, grew up, just playing the game all the time. But the difference between my current family that I get to be the head of and where I grew up is we didn't do anything in the church. We were just agnostic. I grew up in Texas, so, everybody kind of knows about God and everyone thinks Jesus is a good thing, but literally we never went to church, and soccer was everything to me. And so I just pursued that. lived in, I don't know how many different homes. Mom's been divorced, 4 times. So just kind of all over the place, had to grow up quick. Was one of those guys who was always seemed older. That's what everyone always told me. You always seem like you're mature. You're older than your age. So I was always taking charge and having to do a lot of things like that in my life. And really soccer was my place. I got affirmation all the time, man. It's where I found my identity. I was good at it. It was natural to me. I really loved it. Don't know why at an early age I wanted to pursue it. And everybody told me I was good, man. So I think in the end, like I started to get my identity out of that and chase that like crazy. Kept me out of trouble, which was great. The only reason I really went to school was because I wanted to play soccer. And fortunately, it was easy for me. So I got pretty good grades. And then, man, I got dragged to a Christian camp as a high schooler. And at that camp, I was skipping everything I could. My mom came to me one day and was like, "You're going to this camp." I'm like, "We don't even go to church. Why are you sending me to this? I don't want to go there." She said, "It's free, keeps you out of trouble. You're going." So, all right, I go. And I skipped everything I could. But on Wednesday night, I'll never forget, man, I just felt the call of the Holy Spirit. I had to go for it. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was just like compelled and just drawn and like full, like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed in my life. I need this stability. And I went straight back home, had no church friends. One of my best friends knocks on the door. "Hey, bro, you ready to go out?" I'm like, "No, man, I became a Christian." He goes, "Whatever, dude, you'll be drinking with us by next week." And sure enough, I was. No foundation, just struggled. And then had some bad teaching too. Had someone tell me that if you sin on the day and you're not forgiven that night, you're going to hell. So honestly, I was like, I mean, just imagine that, man. Imagine that. Like,
yeah, the fear.
Do you know you're screwing that up all the time?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I might as well just go have fun then, because I'm definitely going to hell, is what I was thinking. So I just went straight back into what I was doing before. And then, man, the only school that really pursued me, I was like, I'm 5'6", super small, $125 or whatever, but I could play, but that's not really a college profile, especially in Texas. So I get dragged to this Christian school because a buddy of mine's going. And, over the next 2 or 3 years, man, I just ran into guys that had something I knew I needed. And that whole conversion moment just came back to me. And, guys like a Freddie King and a Tim Olson and Corey Armstrong and Mianu Kaye and all these guys, I just saw peace in them that I needed, man. So gave my life to Christ, and inevitably, same thing. Didn't want to surrender being a professional, but finally I did. And guess what? I ended up on the Charlotte Eagles, all professional soccer team, and got to live my dream where, I think you and I have talked about this a lot. Like, we went in being athletes and players, and we, that happened to be a Christian. And on the back end, I was a Christian that happened to be a player.
100%. That was, yeah. Like, I identify with that story 100%. Like, I would have told you at the time that, I was, and I did have a real faith, but soccer was still the idol, right? It was still pursuing that dream. Yeah. So that's where we met. Probably on a Dewey. Well, no, I think we played indoor in the off season, maybe before that. But was the Dewey early morning trainings on that perfect Bermuda grass turf? Was that where you got the nickname Rooster, or did you have Rooster before that?
No, the nickname Rooster came. There was one morning that I had to go pick something up from the Eagles office, and I used to have like a nice little, curly tuft on top. So I think I had slept pretty hard on both sides. So I had this like, kind of up, and I was like, yeah, I look like a rooster. And so Tim Donnelly, who is our announcer, thought that was pretty funny. So I'm literally going out for a lineup one day. We're playing the Charleston Battery. I remember it. And I go out, and he's like, "Kelly, the Rooster Findley," as I'm getting announced. I'm going by to shake the guys in the Battery's hands. And one of the guys, it was just, I can't remember the band, but he was like, this guy goes, "We're here to snuff the rooster."
Oh, yeah.
What is happening?
Alice in Chains. Well done. I was thinking of the exact same thing when you said that. That's your walkout song from now on. When you're introduced, 100%. That's your walkout song. No, I was thinking because I think we were knocking around probably with Jeff DiVittore and another captain of the Serie A. And when you would hit that pass on the dewy surface, remember it would spit up the water in that little line, and he was like, "Oh, the rooster's hitting me with a rooster." And you could do it so it would always soak me. And I'm like, how did he do that? So sorry if you don't know what we're talking about, but yeah, those are good times. This is what happens when an old friend gets on the podcast. But so from that, after your 6 years of playing, you're getting serious about your faith, and then you go into coaching. Presently, the one part of your intro that I left out, where you and I connected, is the organization that had owned the Charlotte Eagles at the time. It's called Missionary Athletes International, and there's an initiative that you've been a part of. You're wearing the shirt right now called Coaches on Mission. Maybe let's jump to that and say, why Coaches on Mission? Because I feel like that's become your passion, is not just being a coach, because we can go through the coaching history, and we will as we go. You were an assistant at a place, then you got a head coaching job, and that's a meat grinder in the college world, is, because they're looking at results, and you got to do recruiting, and you got to deal with people, and then it's your own job that's on the line. But what is Coaches on Mission, and why should we care about it?
Yeah. Well, the way I'd say it is, my brother-in-law was a policeman for a while, and he said it this way, that he's with people on their worst day. Most of the time he's either giving them a ticket or he's arresting someone. And he said the vulnerability that he would see and the opportunities he had to talk to people in that moment was, he said, I didn't realize it when I got into it, but that's what I found out on the back end. And that's kind of what I've seen as a coach, is like, you're not with them on their worst days, but you're literally with them on every day. Like, these guys are coming out, these young guys, you can imagine, just like you and me, are coming out of their own houses trying to figure out, who am I, man? What am I doing? And by the way, they're going to be challenged because they used to be the dude. Now they're just a guy on our team. They're going to get hurt. They're going to, lose. They're going to win. They're going to meet the girl. They're not going to meet the girl. They're going to fail a class. Their parents are going to be weirdos. They might get divorced. I mean, you're just journeying with them. And what I realized is, for the longest time, man, I was just coaching for me, literally. I mean, I coached to win, which everybody wants to do. I coached in the end for like my own success and to be valued as a coach. I wanted people to think that I was good, and I wanted people to think that I won a lot. I wanted them to pay me a lot of money. I wanted to wear as many different cool shirts as I could wear, and then in the end, I recognized after being here at Liberty that, like, what a platform I've missed out on. I had a player, Johnny V, this is unbelievable. A player came to me one day and was like, I don't know if you know who you are as a coach. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, I think you're kind and you love God and you're a great mentor in that way. But when you get on the field, you're scary because you want to win so bad. He goes, I don't think you can be both. And I think you got to figure out what you want to do. And I was like, oh, wow. So, right. I mean, can you imagine a player? I mean, like, first of all, good for that kid, right? Like, I love that. And secondly, it just made me think, who do I want to be? And, I'd read this book, Inside Out Coaching, years ago by Joe Ehrman. Have you read it?
Yes, years ago.
But you and I talked about the 4 questions, right? Last week, yes. I think.
Yeah. Yes, but give us those 4 questions again, because you shared them at Coaches on Mission, which I got to be a part of. And I immediately screenshotted these questions and I sent them to like a dozen coaches that aren't even soccer coaches. And I think it's important.
Yeah. I mean, these are questions you could use in any way, shape, or form, right? So, the first question is, why do I coach? The second question is, why do I coach the way I do? The third one, which will rock your world if you really sink into it a little bit and sit back and think, how does it feel like to be coached by me? And then the fourth one is, how do I define success? This guy, Joe Ehrman, when people would ask him, how do you define success? He'd say, I'll tell you in 20 years when I see what the boys I'm working with today are doing in 20 years. That's how you define success. But, you could say the same thing. Why am I in sales? Why am I married? How do I do my marriage? How do I do my parenting? You could talk a great game about like, I'm trying to provide for my family. So that's why I'm in sales. And the reason I work so hard is because of this. But how does it feel like to be a dad to me is I never see you because you're always making so much money so I can have a nicer car, but I just want to spend time with you. So it's like, man, I read those questions and thought, oh my gosh, how does it feel like to be coached by me? What I discovered was it was scary. They were fearful. They were so worried about impressing me and getting the results that they underperformed sometimes. And then I had no connection, no relationship. So I was demanding, classic CEO. Here's all the bells and whistles and nice little, spa area and a ping pong table and great salary and benefits. But like they didn't know me and I didn't know them at their heart. And it just totally rocked my world. So where did Coaches on Mission come from? It came from that, man. So many coaches, I think, are missing it. And I just wanted to share what I learned through all my mistakes.
Wow. That's massive, because just as you were going through that, how does it feel to be parented by me? How does it feel to be an employee of mine? How does it feel to be on the church staff where I'm, one of the lead pastor guys, right? And so that's that to me, because I think when I read that book, I wasn't ready, right? I was still chasing the dream. I mean, it's timing. It's all timing. But sitting in that classroom with 60 other people, 60 other coaches at all levels, that was huge. That's why I took the screenshot. And, I had a local football coach that has won several state titles. I sent that to him. And, I told you it wasn't, he didn't respond for 48 hours. And then the response was that question number 3, how does it feel to be coached by me? Absolutely rocked his world, because he's a great coach. And so there's this tension, right? That because you said it, you said it in Charlotte, you said it here. We all want to win, but at what cost? At what price? And I even think about what does it feel like to be my child, the child of a high school athlete? Because you always see these parents that are junior coaches, at least in their own mind, and I just don't think my kid's performing up to his ability, and it's like, lay off him, the kid just wants to be a kid, type of thing. So, so Coaches on Mission right now, just give us an idea of just the types of things we're going to do, and then I want to jump back into that identity stuff just a little bit. So what does it look like for this this ministry you're starting?
Yeah. So Coaches on Mission, we kind of have three prongs. The first prong that we got started was just events is probably the best way to put it, like a little coaches weekend where we bring in different speakers. I mean, we've ranged from the head coach, Ohio State, to Martin Rennie, who's been a professional coach in the MLS, to we had Greg Berhalter, we had Frank Wright come. So really what it is, it's a soccer specific, transformational and faith-based coaching weekend. They started it in Nashville a few years ago, and it kind of didn't really get going. And I came alongside because I had a similar idea, and we talked through it. We moved it to Charlotte, kind of rebranded, and that was in 2023. So now we've done 3 in a row, and they've been growing. But the idea is just to encourage, equip, and empower coaches to be more focused on the mission and people. And transforming lives instead of, transactional stuff, just the wins. And then ultimately the next prong. So we have a couple of events. We're going to have one in Orlando in 26, one in Charlotte in 26. And then the other thing we're doing is doing these like Coaches on Mission Lights, where like you and I talked about this. I might come to Michigan, and we would do it at a facility, and I would bring in 2 to 3 people with me, and we would do like soccer specific field sessions, and then we do leadership and coaching lectures. So the events are, I bring a bunch of people in. We probably have like 10 to 15 presenters, and we do lectures and field sessions. But we do these Coaches on Mission Light where we come to a place, a coach like you gets a bunch of people in, and we're really investing in them. And the last thing is I'm trying to get these cohorts going. So like 4 to 5 guys, invest in them, and they go invest in 4 to 5 guys, and then finish with an intensive in Charlotte, that's still a fledgling thing. But the real foundation of it is just, man, are you coaching for you, or are you coaching on mission? Is your mission to invest and transform and change lives, or are you just after sports?
That's beautiful. Right on the website, it says the vision is to equip, empower, and encourage coaches to walk in a manner worthy of the gospel. That comes right out of the scriptures, in order to impact those they influence to find and follow Jesus. But like we've been saying, this isn't just soccer coaches. This is any human being that's listening. If you want to live a life of impact, or if you just want to succeed and have Jesus as part of your life, or do you really want like I didn't know that story about that kid that came to you. I mean, the courage of that kid, because he was one of your players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's taken a risk. But then your humility, which, you might not, have ever received that before, but because you're always a learner, like I've always said, humble people are teachable. And if you're not teachable, you're not humble. If you're not humble, you're not teachable. And for you to receive that and then have God use that in a powerful way, it's redirecting your entire life. And so that's always one of the things I admired about you. But let's look at these two worldviews, if we can. I think that's where it starts. That's the first one, right? That there's one mindset that people have, and I would guess even a lot of our listeners have, and it's a mindset that's focused on scarcity instead of a mindset focused on abundance. And so if you're a Christian, it's kind of a contradiction to have a mindset focus on scarcity. So just in your view, how is that, how do you see that played out? What is a scarcity mindset?
Yeah. Well, first you said something earlier that resonated with me a lot too. It's funny. Our basketball coach, man, I really rate the guy, Richie McKay. He's big time. And so, we have to do these presentations in front of the whole athletic department, give an update on our season. So one day he talked about this book by a guy named Jamie Winship, and it's called Living Fearlessly. And, I picked it up and read it, but it didn't really, honestly, it didn't catch, man. I was like, okay, I think I listened to it, audiobook or whatever. Anyway, fast forward a little bit later, and Mark Steffens sends me, hey, have you listened to this guy? So Mark is he's the dude I'd love to be. Humble, everybody loves him. I mean, I don't even know what it is. There's so many people he didn't coach, but you know what everybody calls him?
Coach. Yeah. He was our coach. He was our coach of the Eagles, the coolest bro. And he's a pastor and an old dude. So yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I reread it, and like you said, man, sometimes you're not at that stage where you can hear it. And so, from all the things that happened, I got fired at NC State, right? Recognized those things, was chasing something at Sporting Kansas City, trying to be a professional coach. And then I got here and I got to go on this French coaching license. It was it's 14 months. It cost $20,000 at Sporting Kansas City paid for. It was like a total pressure cooker. And I came into Liberty and I was going to show everybody how great I was. And honestly, God was like, look, you're separated from what I have for you. Anybody can coach, but you have something different. And if you don't use that, you're separated from your true identity. And so I was operating in scarcity because I was like, the only thing that was going to fill that separation and my scarcity was winning. And I also wanted certainty, that's another one of the things. So it's I'm not enough. Right. I want certainty, perfection, which you can't have in soccer. It's a terrible game. You can play really well and lose. You could play terrible and win. You could have the best players and guy gets hurt and there's no certainty in that. And then this one really got me too. When you're separated from your true identity, you start to self-promote and self-protect. And what I would do is I would self-promote by making sure everybody knew how smart I was as a coach, right? And I would self-protect by making sure that I did everything to be ready for a game. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't trust my assistants and I didn't trust my players because I was trying to take care of everything. And what happens is people operate in fear then because they know they don't have enough. That's why you're trying to give them everything instead of saying, look, man, I trust you. You're a good player. You just keep going. It'll work out. I don't need to tell you every single thing to do. We don't need to fix every problem. You just rely on your skill set. I'll help you when you need me. I'm always here. Go get it done. To me, that's where you get into that more than enough. I believe in you. I trust you. In fact, you're going to fail. And the one thing you can't do, this is something I've been saying now for years, is the one thing you can't do is you can't hide. You're going to make mistakes. You can't be afraid. You got to get turned. You have to penetrate. You have to be unpredictable. But if you decide to hide on our team, you will not play. So you're going to make mistakes. And we'll correct those and we'll coach you. But the one thing you cannot do is hide. You have to be committed to taking risks because you're going to fail, right? You're not going to be perfect. That's the mystery. But the mystery is maybe you don't even know how good you could be as a player or a person or how big of an impact you can be. So then all of a sudden you're starting to think about others. And so instead of me self-protecting, self-promoting, I'm trying to dive in. How great can I make my assistants? How much better can I make my players? How much better can I have them as problem solvers instead of them coming to me saying, Coach, what should I do about the situation? Now I say, well, why don't you come up with a few answers and bring them to me and then we can work through it. But you don't need me. You need to find your true identity. Sorry, that was like a super ramble.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's huge because I'm sitting here looking at our church or any church, or Christians in general. Christians will hide and Christians will live out of that scarcity mindset, which actually, the scripture reference there is Matthew 16:25 that says, for whoever would save his life will lose it. And so from scarcity, I'm trying to preserve my own life with my own efforts. For the Christian, it's trying to be good, trying to check all the boxes of what Christian is. But really, I'm still trying to do it on my own strength. So Jesus said, for whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. And so there's the basis of the scarcity mindset. On the other side, the mindset that's focused on abundance or more than enough, which I kind of like that because there's a song about more than enough, right? But that comes from John 10:10, which says, I have come that you might have life and you might have it to the full, and the only reason I know that by heart is one of our teammates who never answered his phone. You know who I'm talking about. Dustin Whitey Swinehart, right? Who played at Miami of Ohio. That was his voicemail forever. Like you could never find that guy because he was always golfing. Right? Yeah. He was always golfing or in a meeting because he was golden bullocks, whatever he was, Whitey, the golden child, the big scorer guy. But hey, man, go ahead and leave a message. And just remember, John 10:10 says, I've come you might have life and have it to the full. He's out living his best life, and I'm still living in a scarcity mindset.
Exactly.
So honestly, when I saw that in Charlotte, I'm like, I want to be more like Whitey. Right. Which, by the way, was his nickname. That's not a slur. But how have you seen that, like the positive results, like when a Christian or a player, because I'm just making those correlations. What is the difference in them? Like, are there any practical ways that you've seen this change in a person or a player, or even just you, between the scarcity mindset and then realizing if my identity is in Christ, He's more than enough. He says I'm more than enough. Is it just I can breathe now, I can relax, or is it more than that?
Yeah, for me, my prayer life is something I've always wanted to improve, and I think that is connection, right? If you're not praying, how do you expect to hear? And how do you expect to be connected? Like I would never not talk to my wife for 24 to 48 hours. That wouldn't go very well. As you like to say, I would not be sleeping on the bed with all the pillows. I wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So like prayer life's important, but I've learned to listen more often. Like, okay, God, what do you want me to do, and what do you want me to know about this situation? And that's been really helpful because then it's, what do you see me in? What do you want from me? What is my path? What have you created me for? That's the connection piece versus what I think I'm supposed to be doing. And, to be honest, I thought I was going to be, when I was at NC State, I was rolling, man. I'm making a lot of money. We killed it at Butler. I get there, ACC. I'm like, I'm going to be a national team coach the way things are going. All of a sudden, I'm in the toughest league in the country. I'm like, I got my boss texting me at night. If you don't win, I don't know why you're not winning. You look, you're talented enough. And my identity is rocked. I'm like, what am I doing here? And I lost my way in my identity. Well, I came here thinking, oh, now I'm ready. I'm going to go win a lot. And honestly, that was for me. And so what I realized is like, I am one, I want to be a coach on mission. That's more important to me. And deep at the heart of who I am, I'm a giver of courage and I'm an opener of doors. And when I pray and I ask God, like, what do you see me as? Like, what have you made me to be? I can't help myself but encourage people. I just can't. And if I'm going to be a yelling, screaming coach, that's completely opposite of what I'm living. And so to know who I am and know my identity and just know what I'm created for, I realized like it's super hard for me now not to play players. I mean, this happened this week. We had a kid tear his ACL on Sunday at practice. Devastating. I look over and the first thing I think is, oh no, who is it? Because I'm worried that it's a good player. And I recognize something in myself that I was like, whoa, who is that guy? Like, man, I care more about one kid than another. And I keep saying that that's not who I am, but I recognize that, like, but that's my false self. You know why? Because that guy needs to self-promote, self-protect. If it's a good, it just, so to sit in that and rest, and then also just surrender that and be like, I know that's not who I want to be, and ask forgiveness is huge. But and the other thing is that you can't earn it. I think I was reading something this morning about the perfect church person. If you're trying to bring that value, you're the first person in church, you're setting up all the chairs and you're at every event and this and that and the other, but like, you don't know really who you are, because maybe you're supposed to be leading a discipleship group because that's where your skill set is. So when you're deviating from what you're created for, I think, which is you're more than enough. You just got to find what God has for you. And you're going to fail and you don't know what the mystery is. That's where the faith comes in. You're basically walking out blind. You told me a rhino story. I love that, man. Like I'm running as fast as I can towards God's purpose in my life, but I'm going to hit a wall because I don't even know where I'm going. I'm going to stumble and fall, but I'm going to get back up because I'm in hot pursuit of that.
Well, that's good. There's another graphic that you sent that kind of gives the indicator. So if what we're talking about you're not quite tracking with, which I'm tracking with, but it's this identity in Christ, which we focus on a lot at the Tabernacle, trying to get people to understand, exactly what their identity is in Christ. I always take people to Ephesians chapter 1, and what's interesting is I was telling you about an opportunity I had to speak to a non-Christian university soccer team. They were training in the area. Coach invited me to come out because there's a faith-based initiative. I don't even think he's a Christian, but he knew I was a pastor and a coach, and we hit it off. So he's like, hey, come and talk here, right? And I find out that he's got at least one solid Christian guy. I actually know he's got two, because one of them we just baptized 2 weeks ago. He's just part of their program. He's not a really good player, but they got like 45, But I spoke about identity, and here I am, 55, not as in shape as I was. I was never the most in shape, but not what I was when I played for the Eagles. But I introduced myself saying, guys, this is you in 30 years. What you're looking at is you in 30 years, and identified with them with the dream and and this could be whatever sport you're in or whatever you're pursuing in life. But then coming to that moment where I had to realize my identity had to be in something more than the dreams I was chasing or what I thought my true self should look like. And when the little Devo was over, their Bible study leader comes up to me and he's like, hey, do you have any follow-up for this? And I said, yeah, Ephesians chapter 1. The first half of Ephesians chapter 1, when it calls you, if you are in Christ, if you're saved, you're a saint. You are adopted. You are chosen. You have a purpose. You are predestined. You are lavished. You are loved. It's all this stuff that is true, and Christians don't focus on it. And so when we live from the false self, this little graphic that that we have, it says the false self, this is the not enough. This is the scarcity mindset. You're fearful. You're overly competitive. You suffer from comparison. You shut down. You get easily offended. You're aggressive or accusatory. In church, we see them, they're usually complainers. The music's too loud, the music's too soft, the coffee's too hot, the coffee doesn't have enough caffeine. It's just whatever, You want everyone's approval, But then here's the ultimate one. You avoid direct communication. And I saw it last night in the players that I coach. It was a cold, rainy practice, and, they weren't performing or kind of whatever. And I'm just saying, hey, guys, I know we can do better. And I see all their heads go down. All their heads are just kind of looking at their shoes, doing whatever. And then I just gave them a man lesson. I said, hey, stop. Look me in the eye. I'm talking to you like men. All right, this is what direct communication looks like. I love you. I care about you. I care more about you as people than you as players. When someone's talking to you, look me in the eye, and then you're going to take responsibility. And I'm just saying what a coach is supposed to say. We can do better than what we just did, and we're going to have to because we play Elk Rapids tonight, and they're the best, right? Mm. And so then they're looking me in the eye, and I know they didn't suddenly tap into their true selves, Kelly. But it was just a little moment where they're like, oh, this is what direct communication looks like. And for some of them, it was hard. And for the ones that really want that, I mean, they're looking me right in the eye. They're going, yes, coach, yes, coach. And you could see some other guy, I'm just looking around and they're looking me in the eye. And I thought about this is when you're when you're living in fear, you avoid that direct stuff because you're afraid of what I'm saying. You're afraid of the correction. Or you're afraid of that I'm going to think less of you. On the flip side, this is the true self. When you're living from that true identity, and we know that would be in Christ. Now, not all of my players are Christians, but I'm trying to see that I'm trying to get them to see I'm going to coach them differently, right? So that's a more than enough. That person, that Christian, that player, that parent, that employee, perfect peace. They're free to be generous. There's confidence. They're fully connected. They forgive quickly. They have nothing to prove. I love this one. They know their inherent worth and value. And I'm sad to say that, and I've shared this in the pulpit. Maybe your experience was a little bit different. But when I was playing pro soccer, if I got picked, it was a great weekend. If I was on the bench, it was an okay weekend. If I didn't get picked to wear a jersey because we had 26, 28 players and only 18 dressed, and I was sitting in the stands with the other guys that didn't make the team, it was a terrible weekend. I didn't know my inherent worth and value. And my wife will tell you that the 4 years that I played, you played 6, I only played 4, those were the worst years of our marriage. Not that our marriage was bad, but just like because she knew her inherent worth and value. She was just happy to be with the other, wags, the other wives and girlfriends, and be at the game and be a part of the deal. But John's going to be in a bad mood. I don't even want to be around him, or John's going to be in a great mood. And it was just this roller coaster of emotions, right? And it wasn't until my last year that I think I really started. That was my favorite year, the last year that we played. Yeah. We were playing with, the Colombians came, we had Desmond Armstrong, we had all of these guys. But what have you experienced in learning to live from your true self, and how has it impacted others? Like you gave us a bad example. What's a good example?
Yeah. One of the things I love is the idea of, anytime you kind of feel this like fear, guilt, and shame coming out of it, you're probably not operating in your true identity, and what I mean by that is like that, like, you felt like shame because you weren't in the lineup. And then, so like that's just a natural, start thinking, okay, hold on for a second. If I feel fearful, then I'm probably more worried about how I'm going to look if the team doesn't do well, so one of the positive examples would be now, I try to undercoach a lot. I literally go to guys and say, okay, you tell me the problem first. So when I do a halftime talk, I say something like, okay, what do you guys see? And then I pull what I know I see with my eyes, because I've been doing it a long time. So I would, my view is different than theirs. I have a 30,000 foot, they're on the ground, kind of boots on the ground guys. So one of the things I've seen is that I'm not self-protecting, self-promoting all the time. Therefore, I can say yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer to how they're building. So we need to figure that out as the game goes on to my staff, instead of me having to be the guy who has every answer. Because now I'm not worried about self-protecting, self-promoting, because no coach has every answer. That's crazy. So when I say to the guys, like, look, they're getting at us a little bit. Well, I would have been afraid in the past to say, they're outplaying us. We need to figure out how to get this done, guys. Right. I can go ask my captains, what are you seeing differently than I'm seeing? Where I wouldn't have done that before, because I would have been fearful that I look like I'm not an expert. So therefore I'm not opening that door. The other real thing is like owning who you are. I did this exercise with our team, and I've done it with like my extended family. Unbelievable, man. You basically take a card and you write out all the lies that you tell yourself. For me as a coach, it's like, guys don't follow me, or, you're not good enough, or like, you're not an expert, whatever it is. Like, if you don't win, you're not valued, blah, blah, blah. So then you write that out, and then literally it's okay, close your eyes and then hand that piece of paper to Jesus with all those things written on it. And Johnny V, the different reactions that every single person has are unbelievable. When I did mine, I handed it over and it was blank. There was nothing on it anymore. I did it with my in-laws and my extended family. And one of my sister-in-laws, like, I'm not really sure where she's at in her faith. I look over and she is bawling, man. I mean, just like broken. And then I ask them, okay, share what you saw. One of them, I'm getting emotional now. One of my sons.
That's all right.
One of my sons is in tears. And so I ask him all, and he's like, he couldn't control himself. He's like, it just caught on fire, And then my sister-in-law, she's like, I put it over there, and he tore it up and threw it, and it disappeared. And to me, we all have these things that are constantly bombarding us with the false identity, man. Like, got to be perfect. You got to know the solutions. Don't sin. Oh man. Like, I just looked at that woman. Okay. Well, you're a man, so you're going to probably do that sometimes, right? Don't look twice, right? You remember that in the Vans.
Right.
Look away. But like the idea of like not burying yourself. You know why? Because when you hand it over to God, he's already done the work. And for you to think that you have to do something, you have to be perfect. When I start investing in our players and my coaching staff and my family in that way, the freedom that they operate out of, because they know their true identity, has been a completely different world, completely different. And talk about connection with my players. The stuff they'll tell me, the things they'll open up to, has just totally, because they know that I accept them for exactly who they are. I have no expectations of them, just like I have no expectation of myself. And when I admit that I get things wrong, I'm rambling a bit here, but I got one more story I got to tell you, man.
Go for it. No, these are great.
All right. Okay. So this happened again about 10 days ago, right? So we're doing this thing in the spring. Great game, a competition day. It's the last day before spring break. You're like, the boys are about to shove off for a week, and I got a week off. It's going to be awesome. It's tied at really intense training session. I'm like, let's do something fun to finish off and get a winner. So we do sumo circle. Me and you at each other. You got to push me out. I got to push you out. Winner gets a point for his team. I make the guys pick. You pick someone from the other team, so now this guy's got to get out there and get after it. Well, one of the dudes pulls the other guy over, breaks his collarbone right in training. I mean, it's sticking out it's like this.
Oh, luckily, man. And it's a non-soccer, just fun game.
Stupid fun game. He's supposed to fly home the next day to see his mom, whatever. So now I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They come in, I hook them up with a friend so they can stay here for the week at an Airbnb and all this kind of stuff. And, I'm like, his mom was kind of okay with me. He was definitely down in the dumps, obviously. I didn't say anything. I went over and cleaned the Airbnb for them so they didn't have to do it, because I didn't want my friend to do it and I wasn't going to ask them to do it. And then at the same time, I had to cut 2 of this kid's friends in the spring because we got knocked down all these roster spots. So he comes back. I'm thinking it's all done. It's been terrible. I mean, I don't want to cut guys off my team. One of this guys wants him to be in his wedding. You can just see it all kind of starting to come together a little bit, right? Great kid, great player, shows up, and something's off, man. something's off. He just is like, he's not smiling. He's a junkie, man. He loves the game. Great player. Probably one of the best I've ever coached. And just something's off, man. He just isn't there. So I'm like, something's going on, man. So I pull him aside one day and I say, hey, you got 10 minutes? He's like, sure. So we catch up, somewhere on campus. And I said, hey, I just been noticing, something. And I just wanted to ask you to forgive me. A couple things. Like, one, that was stupid I've done the sumo game so many times in my career, and I cannot believe you broke your collarbone, but I know it set you back. You didn't get to go home. You didn't play half the summer with your USL2 team. And I just want to ask you to forgive me, man. I was devastated by it and I felt bad about it. And he's like, oh, coach, you didn't have to, you've probably done that many times, whatever. And I said, yeah. And then I said, I got one other thing I need you to forgive me for if you're willing. I said, I know I cut two of your best friends and I know that hurt. And I didn't want to do it. And I just wanted to ask you to forgive me. And if you can be willing, I'd like that, because I feel bad about it. And he looks at me and little bit of emotion, he goes, Coach, I know it's not you. He goes, but yeah, I was a little pissed about that. I said, I get it, man. I was mad too. I didn't enjoy it. Said, but look, I just want to offer that to you. You don't have to forgive me, certainly, but I hope you will. He's like, Coach, you don't have to worry about that. Whatever. He says all the stuff you're supposed to say. The next day in training, totally different kid. Totally different kid. Smiling, tackling, talking, motivated, like second balls, you name it. And I don't say that to pump myself up. I only say it because if I didn't know that my true identity is not wrapped up in me being the guy who has every answer and you freaking do what I want you to do as an employee, one of my children, whatever it is, because God worked in my life and said, be humble, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourself. I knew I could fail. I knew I could get it wrong and just say, this is who I am. That kid is going to be changed forever.
Wow. Because I'm sitting here thinking a Division I coach of anything, or a parent, or a CEO, or a boss. I mean, whatever relationship, to go to someone for two things that were big to him, but you probably didn't even, like the worldly mindset would say, you don't even have to apologize for that. But that hurt him. And so you're going to humble yourself to ask his forgiveness because you're not afraid to lose. You're not afraid because you're vulnerable when you ask for forgiveness, right? You had said the school cut the roster spots, and so you had to make these cuts. It's part of your budget. But then so you're apologizing to one of your players who you're in authority over. That's huge, but you can only do that if you're living from your true self. If you're only living from abundance, where your identity's in Christ and you're not afraid to lose in front of this kid. But what it did for him was saying the thing that was bothering him, saying the thing that was causing the separation, and allowing him to get past it, because that's all the things. That's direct communication. You didn't need his approval, and you weren't begging. You said, hey, you don't have to forgive me, but I'm asking for it, right? That's just a powerful, like for me, that's a powerful example. I know parents that won't ask forgiveness from their children when they probably should. I think somebody years ago told me that don't be afraid to tell your children you're sorry, and I've done it to my oldest, the only one you knew her when she was little, Isabel. Now she's a grown woman. She's a mom. She's married. She's a great mom. She's in ministry. She's doing all this stuff. She's standing in my mudroom, and I don't even remember what it was about. It was about, we weren't having an argument at all, but she was feeling pressure. And I was like, yeah, I think you should, this or that or the other. And then all of a sudden I just stopped. She has a different last name now. She's a mom and a really good one. And she's a wife and a really good one. She's got a great husband. And I stopped mid-flow and I said, am I shooting on you right now? And she goes, yes, you are. And I said, I got tears. And I was like, I am so sorry. I was like, you're a grown woman. you do whatever you want to do, whatever God's telling you to do. Don't listen to me. And I just walked in. Of course, she gave me a big hug and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, am I shooting on you in this moment? She goes, yes, you are. Right. But it's learning to catch yourself in those situations. I think that's a powerful example. And kind of as we kind of land the plane here just a little bit, for me, the true self is learning to live from God's grace. There's a lot of people that talk a good game about God's grace, but they don't understand God's grace. They still think they can earn it or pay it back, or because they live under grace, they still should on themselves. But for grace to be a gift, you can't earn it, you can't pay it back. And so the second word that I think of, and they're like themes around here, is you have to trust. Because in order to live from your true self, you have to trust where your worth comes from, your inherent worth and value. And that brings me to the third word. That means you kind of have to surrender. And that's a word everyone hates. Coaches hate that word. We never surrender. We never give up, right? Yeah. But it's grace, it's trust, it's surrender, and it's learning to live from those places. And what ticks me off is I thought I knew it at age 30, and I'm at 55 and I'm still learning it. I'm 100% still learning it. Yeah.
100% still learning, man. Yeah. It was funny. I had a guy reach out the other day. I was like, hey, I'm really working on my transformational coaching, but I've been struggling. I feel like when I get in games, I'm just transactional. And my response was, welcome to the club, man. I mean, it's
welcome to the club.
I figured it out. Welcome to the club, brother. I mean, this is like every day, surrender your identity, because you're always seeking that. There's never an arrival until we get that new body. And man, we're just spending time with the Lord, and we know exactly who we are because we don't have a choice.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I mean, I'm fired up about Coaches on Mission. I bought the hat. I got the shirt. I got to be at one. I want to host one. I want to see what God does with that. But this just has so many layers. Whether it's leadership in all aspects of life, from parenting to the way it plays out in your marriage, the way it plays out at your job, in sports, of course. I hope our podcast family has parents that listen to this, because parents all think they're coaches, and some parents think they're better coaches than the coach. And some of the parents are better coaches than their coaches. But this is really good stuff. I'm also grateful. I mean, how amazing is God? I'm not trying to hyper spiritualize this, that He gives us avenues like sport where we can learn deep spiritual lessons that I probably wouldn't learn if I was just in the job force. I mean, if I was just mowing grass like Forrest Gump and, for a living, I'm not sure that I would learn what I've learned both as a player and even more as a coach. I think I'm having more fun as a coach than I ever had as a player, but maybe it's because my memory's bad. I'm not sure.
100%.
So, anyways, yeah. If you want to check out Coaches on Mission, their website is coachesonmission.com. Kelly, can they reach out to you if someone wants to reach out to you there? Is there like a link to connect to your email or something like that?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So there's also some cool resources on there. We got a blog and different kind of devotionals and different things. All of the videos from all the last few events are on there. So field sessions from 23, 24, and 25. And then we got a YouTube page, which you can get to from there as well.
Right. And you're also on Instagram. I share all the posts. I'm fired up about that. I've got my Kingsley varsity boys soccer is also following Coaches on Mission. And so, we're trying to put out the word. But was there anything else that we left out, like something that you would say to players, something you'd say to coaches, just Christians in general, that is just like really burning on your heart that you would want to share on the podcast?
Well, one, appreciate you having me, man. I was pumped. I mean, I don't do many of these, but love speaking about this stuff. I mean, this is easy for me. I don't need to prepare for it. It just flows. So I appreciate that. The thing that's been coming to me a lot is like, a peaceful presence attracts 1,000 souls, and like. For me, man, that's how I want to be. And if I can operate my true identity, then I get a chance to do that. And if just imagine if you're coaching or you're in a business or you're a pastor, if the people you get the chance to lead can understand that they're going to fail and that's okay, and they don't know what's coming, and that's where their faith comes in, and that when they make mistakes, they actually can improve from those things and find the real worth in all the challenges that come their way. That's one of my favorite things to talk about is, do you see the world as a challenge or a threat, right? Well, challenges are coming or you're going to be threatened. So for me, it's a challenge. Step into those. So if you as a parent or a coach or a leader can get the people you lead to see themselves for their true value and understand that mistakes are part of their journey, they're actually going to stretch the boundaries and do more and impact more. And, by the way, probably win more games, sell more things, impact more people, go on to do greater things. And for me, that's where it all comes from. That's what coaching on mission is. It's like being on mission every day is, how can you impact people to find their identity in Christ, in who they are. It's going to be fallible. Yeah, but God still loves you for exactly who you are. Like, you hand him that piece of paper that the world's telling you every day, all the should haves are on that paper, and he never sees it. That's what's always on my heart every day for me. And I don't do it well every day, but I'm trying. But man, if I can get other people to at least catch that and see how God sees them for like one moment in a day, that's a win.
That's huge. No, that's cool. I was just thinking, sorry, the pastor brain in me, but, we were talking about letting people fail. I'm thinking about Christ with his 12, knuckleheads that he walked around a lake with for 3 years. And like, how many times these guys failed, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, the sons of thunder. Hey, by the way, we brought mom. And, she's the ultimate soccer mom, right? Or the ultimate sports mom, the AAU mom, the club sport mom that's like, hey, when you come into your kingdom, can my son sit on your left and your right, right? Or Peter, how many times he just puts his foot in his mouth and, he's always getting it wrong. And then, you come to Christ's last day on earth, and all these other guys are going to leave you, but I'll never leave you. And then Jesus is like, really? You're going to deny you even knew me 3 times before the rooster crows. And then he denies him, and you go through all of that. Then he sees the resurrected Christ. Something happens that's different. Something that happens that's different. And maybe it's because I'm preaching on Acts chapter 12 this coming weekend, but Peter gets arrested right after James is beheaded. So James is the first apostle martyred. Then Peter's arrested. And it says the night before Herod was going to bring him out, meaning he was going to be next. He's chained between 2 Roman soldiers, and he's asleep. He's asleep. He knows the next day he's going to die. He's at perfect peace. That was one of the things. He's at perfect peace. He's asleep between 2 soldiers. He's changed it so much so that it's kind of funny. It's actually Acts chapter 12 is one of the funniest chapters in Acts. It says an angel struck him to wake him up. He's like, hey, get up. He's like, wait, what? Tomorrow he's going to die, beheaded. That's got to be one of the worst ways to go, right? And he's like, wait, what? And, and then he's let out and he escapes. So something transformed in Peter from a guy living from a false self of always trying to put himself out there, self-promoter, be the big talker, I'm the leader. He even rebuked Jesus one time. Some between there and, years later, this guy, before his death day, and he did die a martyr's death, but the first time he escaped it, the bro's sleeping and an angel has to strike him and go, hey, get up, we're leaving, so we know it's possible. And maybe it's because he learned to focus on abundance. Like, there was that perfect peace that set in, that Christ is in control. I'm more than enough. And now I just got to be who he wants me to be. So sorry, that was my little preacher thing, but thank you so much, Kelly. Who do you play tonight?
We play VMI. Yeah. So it should be a good game. Military academies are always a battle. So that's our number one thing today is, Alex Ferguson, you got to win the physical battle and then your class will kick in. So hopefully we'll get that done tonight.
There you go. You quoted one of my favorite coaches. Yeah, thanks. We play Elk Rapids. They're a beast. They're the top. But we want to bring you to Michigan. So you and I will talk later about that. My coaches are fired up about it. We want to have a symposium and do the whole thing. Matt, I know you're a basketball guy, but did we leave anything out? We covered it. Matt approves. Podcast family, if you want to check out Coaches on Mission, it's coachesonmission.com. Please share this podcast if you think it'll be helpful for someone, even if they're not in the world of sports, coach, parent, player, because there's a lot of good stuff in there about God's grace, learning to trust the identity He gives us, surrendering to that. And Kelly, thank you. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your impact on countless young people. You and I have talked before, one of the greatest feelings in the world is when you run into some guy, I see some dude at the gas station, he's got Wrangler jeans on and a wife and a kid, and he's got this straight face, and I don't quite recognize him because he's got a beard now, and he goes, "What's up, coach?" And you're like, yeah, it's a great feeling. So thank you for the impact you've had on me and for sharing your time with us today. We appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, man. Love it.
Cool. Until next time, this is Kelly, the Rooster Findley, Lord Matthew Corey Hughes, and John Vermiglia. We're signing off.